How are you doing, sir?
Hello, Aaron.
My God, this movie, this is how the summer of 2022 is going to wrap up. We're all going to be talking about this movie.
Thank you.
Man, alive! I mean, the Immaculate Room. I mean, you it's one of those things. As a creative mind, why hasn't this been done before? Is it because it is a very dangerous place for people to go in and be challenged to win $5 million?
I mean, it's weird because it seems so easy
Mm-hmm.
when you first hear about it. 50 days, $5 million, stay in a room. It's like, yeah, of course. Then you throw in, oh, and you're gonna sleep in a bed with Kate Bosworth and Ashley Greene, and it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah, even better. What could go wrong?
Well, what I've talked to my wife about this so much about is that we don't realize how much color plays in our real lives and how much we need it as human beings. And watching this, I'm going, oh my God, this is an eye opener.
Yeah, I mean, it's an all white room, and it's like there's nothing there. It's just the absence of all color and all kind of connections to the society or other people, and it's just Kate and Mike stuck in this room for 50 days, and they're a couple, so at first you think that they're not going to have any problems, but then you realize very quickly that it's not going to be as easy as they originally thought. And it's kind of a deal with the devil in a way, where the funder of the experiment, Professor Boyan, the mysterious billionaire, he knows certain things about them that he can do to them while they're in the room
Yep.
that they'll struggle with.
Yeah.
So there's always like a catch. Of course, it's not as easy to just get $5 million for sitting around in a white room.
Well, one of the subliminal actors on this is the voice inside the room. I mean, it was like Space Odyssey all over again, because I mean they had to listen to the voice. That was their outside connection.
Yeah, and it's this weird South African accented voice, robotic voice.
Have you played with one of those tools on the smartphone where you can just go and type things in and have a conversation with yourself?
You know, I've kind of avoided the like Siri or smartphone. I saw that movie Her, and I think it scared me off those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what's really
I was
interesting?
like, I don't know, maybe it's best not to. I mean, you could see 2001. You had prior warning decades ago.
Yep.
Watch 2001, and then Siri comes along, and you're like, get that away from me.
Oh, so true. And to this day, Dave, and just hearing that dang computer calling out to Dave, it's like, I'm out of here. I'm out of here.
Dave, I'm afraid.
Now, one of the things that they allowed you to do in this movie, and I love the fact that you got to do this raw. In other words, I mean, it was your natural reaction.
Yes. What do you mean, though, exactly?
In other words, the characters come to life in a form that wasn't. Yes, there were scripts, there were layouts, you were directed and things like that. But still, I felt your emotions, your personal emotions, come out in this.
Yes. Well, I think one of the challenges as actors we have is, we get all these pages of dialogue, and we see what these characters are supposed to go through, and then it's up to us to bring it to life and make it feel personal and believable, so that when people watch it, they don't necessarily just think that they're watching actors say a bunch of lines. Mm-hmm. And we were very fortunate to where the production design of the room was really good. So it put us in this very realistic environment, and the characters were very well delineated by the writer-director Mukunda. So I had a pretty good grasp of who this guy was. And, he's a very kind of playful, likable guy in a lot of ways. A guy that, seems like there's nothing wrong with him. And then the deeper you go into the film and into his character, you see that he has these issues that he's sort of buried and kind of pushed down. But it was interesting. I mean, he's a very upbeat, nice character.
Yeah, but the thing is, what's so interesting about this? I do a daily defrag journal, which is where you go deep inside, and I found myself going, wow, if I was in this white room, would I be defragging, or would that be too far in? Because I mean, once you get inside, and you see it inside these characters, once you get deep inside your head, oh God, yeah, there's some junk in that trunk.
Yeah, I mean, you can have a a bad trip, bad time, bad 50 days. Anytime you're forced to deal with the entirety of your being, there's a lot of parts of our being which are very flawed or weak or uh, compromised. So the white room will bring it out of them, and this billionaire Professor Voyan will get it out of them as well.
Yeah. Now, did it play with your head? And the reason why I bring that up is because I was talking with Mr. McDowell from Clockwork Orange, and he said that movie, he's never been able to shake the effects of that film.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it definitely had an impact. I had an amazing experience though making the film. I really did. I had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what kind of effects Malcolm McDowell had. Like, did he have such a good time doing all the takes with Kubrick?
I think what happened was the experience of it all, and it's always that thought process of, if this could really happen, how would it affect me? You know, it's like, you know, when you place yourself into that position of being that character, it's not so easy to shake it off.
Yeah, it's true. This character, I think the trauma that he has related to his past, that's very sad and very dark, and I think that's probably the anchor of who Mikey is as a character, is this kind of the tragedy from his past. And I think that that's something that was so integral to the role, trying to get your head around that kind of tragedy. And that was a challenge. That was really a challenge, and definitely not something you could just forget about.
Do you think you could live in a world for 50 days without those digital distractions? Because it seems like that's where we go to I mean, even during the lockdown, I was all over that internet because I needed to be fed.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like to think that I would have no problem with 50 days, but that's sort of part of how you get hooked, because you think, oh, well, of course, 50 days, $5 million, that doesn't sound like that hard. I think most people hear that and they go, get my safe ready, because I'm about to have $5 million put into it.
Yeah, I'll tell you one of the things that crazy about that, because this movie affects me in the way that it does, is because during the lockdown I was having the time of my life, because I was in the house and all that kind of stuff. But when I finally got COVID and I could not leave my house, dude, that affected me, and it was 4 days. So I don't know how this could happen for 50 days.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, some people don't react well. Some people can put their heads down and just sort of go about their business and just kind of exist through it. And then some people just flip out.
One of the invisible lines inside this movie, and I think that people, once it plants, they'll start to understand it, is that money doesn't buy happiness. I love the fact that it's always right there, but we want to make sure, though, are they going to get it? Will they be happy? What happens if he wins the $5 million?
Yeah, and I think that, he, as a character, he comes to some conclusions about money and his own existence that for him are very important. Whether or not those would apply to other people, I think that remains a bit of a question mark. But in terms of how he relates to the world and to money, he comes to some conclusions. And what's interesting, though, is that the film doesn't really make any cut and dry. It doesn't necessarily like let Mikey off the hook, like, oh, he realized money's not important. it always includes some details about Mikey to where you can realize why he might think that. Well, oh, Mikey doesn't think money's important, but Mikey also grew up with money, so
Yeah.
it's easy for him to not take money seriously. So the film doesn't make any grand pronouncements without leaving a little bit of wiggle room for the other kind of devil's advocate side to say, well, maybe he just thinks it because of this.
You know what's really weird, and listeners won't understand this, but I got to tell you though, if you didn't have that painting behind you, I would feel like that I'm in that white room with you. That painting back there is so important because you're in a white room, dude, right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's, that's a beautiful painting. But let me ask you a question though, because we in radio play theater of the mind, and we have to be put ourselves in those positions. When you stepped off that set, all of that white around you, what was it like to enter a world of color?
It was really the room felt surreal in a lot of ways. Um, Almost like a theater or a stage or a dream kind of factory. But going back into the real world was a nice little safety net, you could say.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations on the Immaculate Room. It's streaming as well in theaters. I mean, people just need to experience this and let the conversation begin.
Oh, thank you, Arrow.
You bet. Please come back to the show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you, dude.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You bet. Be brilliant today.
All right. Bye.